考えたくない。
This episode of wow, let me gather my thoughts. This episode of Oshi no Ko is interesting to cover. For one, I think at the end of the episode they flashed something very important. They said, "Hey, the program's a work of fiction." But ultimately, if you, a loved one, or somebody you know is dealing with these like serious mental health issues, they have the National Suicide Prevention line there, 800-273-8255. And, that's just something to think about is like, even though this is a work of fiction, it is heavy. And at the end of the day, for all that I can say of like how good the writing was this episode, it deals with something that's very real, especially in our society. And it wasn't always real when I was in high school, because when I was in high school, unfortunately, I'm going to age myself and date myself quite a bit. The internet was just really becoming a thing, right? Like I went to high school in like the MySpace days. And even then, like it was like what social media is now. It was like in its infancy, but kind of like that was like the first stages of it becoming something like that. Like even MySpace is just kind of like a way to connect to somebody, right? When I think about Facebook, like I didn't get Facebook until I went to uni, and that was something that you only got if you were going to go to go to college or whatever. So like it was in its infancy, and the way that social media is now, and that's why I worry for my kids, is like it's harsh out there. And I'm here as a YouTuber. I put myself on the internet, and I'm not like a famous YouTuber or anything, but the reality is there's some things that you have to deal with when putting yourself on the internet. I put myself on the internet almost every day, on my anime channel, on my gaming channel, and for as much love as I've gotten an equal, if not more, amount of hate. And that's just natural. That's something to be expected when you're on the internet, right? You have to be very comfortable with yourself, very comfortable with who you are, very comfortable with what you put out there, and know who you are and be 100% solid in that, because people will test you, right? Like you have to know, like if you are really fat, you have to be comfortable with that. If you're really skinny, you have to be comfortable with that. Like me personally, right? Like my voice doesn't match how I talk. I have a very I sound like I'm 13. I have a very high pitched voice. 9 times out of 10, that's what people make fun of. And I'm like, that's fine. I know exactly what I sound like. Like, I worked in a call center before. I had to hear myself. I know exactly how I sound. And I just go, well, thank you. I'm like, hit subscribe. So it's just one of those things that it's like you have to be very comfortable with, your features, right? I don't know. I sometimes think like, I got a big ass forehead, and I laugh at myself. So it's like, okay, whether it's your nose, your eyes, your ears, your mouth, your mannerisms, your voice, you're too skinny, you're too fat, whatever it is, you just have to be very comfortable in your own skin and know who you are, and know the people in your life that matter, who are important, and who you should actually give a shit about. Because everybody else simply, doesn't matter when you're putting yourself out there, especially when you're on this level, as like what they're trying to show us with this character, 𝐒𝐚𝐧𝐧𝐞𝐥, right? Is like she's putting herself out there on a national TV show, and that has the most eyeballs on it. It's like going on The Bachelor or something really popular, and is taking Japan by storm, is taking by the nation by storm. You have all these teens, which are like the most jealous, unsure of themselves, want to attack other people to make themselves feel better age group of people. And they're going to go from anywhere to you're ugly to kill yourself. And they're going to go to those extremes. At the end of the day, do they really mean it? No, right? They're just trying to join in on the conversation, get attention from others, trying to be maybe even more mean than somebody else, trying to make themselves feel better. That's what normal That's what not normal. It's definitely not normal, but that's what you see a lot in that younger demographic of people, and it happens in school too. Like somebody will say like, "Oh, you're so ugly," blah blah blah, and really they think that of themselves, whether it's their personality, whether it's their looks, even the most beautiful person, the young person they see some flaw in them that sometimes only they can see, but that's all that consumes them. Right. And I think that's what this captured was the like the evil behind people and the evil that can come from the internet, and somebody like her, honestly, like her manager, is an old dude, but her manager or management team needed to do better about making sure that she wasn't living on the internet, consuming that. Because if you have thousands of people pouring in all day long saying that you're trash, you're ugly, you're a slut, you're this, you're that, that begins to go like, you begin to go like, am I this? And why am I so bad? I've always tried so hard. So like she has this decade worth of work that she's been putting in and just working and working and working and working. And throughout the time that she's working, even though she's being genuine, to others, she's like, oh, she thinks she's better than me, or, because someone said, hey, do you want to go somebody finally extended an arm out to her and said, you want to go for ice cream? She's like, I can't, I have to go practice. And it's truly that she has to go do that. But then to them, it's world shattering. She's like, oh, bitch, they think she's better than me. That's what happens. And again, that's the furthest thing from the truth, but that's how people react to those things. And ultimately it hit her breaking point. And it was sad to see what her breaking point led up to, but you could kind of see the pieces are falling in. And I was taking notes. I wrote down 3 times this episode, what's Aqua going to do? Will he do anything? He sees it. He's aware of it. Not only was he in medicine, he sees these things. He sees the evil. He's partly evil. He sees these things. Is he going to do something about it? And at the end of the episode, he finally jumps in and he finally does something. And I was like, my man. And he saves her. And I wonder what's going to happen next. It's so interesting. But this episode, I just want to hone in on something that the internet, and first off, episode 6 was incredible. The writing is incredible. Anytime a show can pivot away from its main character and be exuberant and absorbent and can capture your attention in this way and can be written about something so evil and heavy, that means it's really great, and I think that's what really shows that this episode and this anime really excels at what it's trying to accomplish, get feels out of you and get strike emotion in you. And that's what this episode did. So if you stopped watching here, episode 6 was incredible. It handles something very heavy in a very intricate way, in a very real way, and it led us up to that point at the end. So really, obviously, really great episode. The final thing I'll say is for anybody out there, and I think it's just important to touch on this, especially when you have an episode that deals with something so heavy. And I'm stumbling over my words, but I want to make sure that anybody who's listening, anybody who gives me the time of day, that you guys know, hey, anytime that you're dealing with somebody, never stay quiet. Everybody, and I mean everybody, has at least one person who, even if they don't think is somebody, could be somebody to confide in. And if there is absolutely not, there are means and other people who literally, get paid to be a support system. Never stay quiet and talk to somebody. And being young is hard. Being on the internet is hard. Remember, social media is not real life, right? People are keyboard warriors. They tend to hide behind the safety of their own screen, knowing that they're not saying these things in real life to people because they never would. So just remember those things if you're ever on the internet and you see things or things are being directed to you, or maybe you offer up an opinion, like a opinion that was not meant any harm to anybody, but you're met with harm. Just remember, sometimes it's better to mute, block, delete, move away, or just don't log in. Like, it's okay to avoid those things. Like, it's not real life. So I just want to remind everybody that, like, hey, if you're ever dealing with something, there's people out there, there's friends, there's family, and there's other people who can be a support system. The worst thing anybody can do in these types of situations is be quiet and just allow it to consume them. So, again, a powerful episode, handle something really heavy, and I'm very interested to hear you guys' thoughts. Right, episode 6, Oshi no Ko. Jesus Christ, what an episode. All right, my friends, I'm going to see you guys on episode 7. As an FYI, I might be late on some episodes moving forward. I'm in the process of moving. You see this back here. This all looks good. Behind me is a bunch of boxes. So have a great rest of your week. Love y'all. Peace.